Okay, I'm going to share a story with you. Excuse me. And the message for this story is feel the fear and do it anyway. And I'm a little bit croaky at the moment. I'm getting over a cold, so just please excuse me that there might be a little just clearing my throat. You've probably already guessed that I'm actually not born in the UK. I'm from Australia. In fact, I come from Hobart in Tasmania, and you actually can't get much further away than that.
New Zealand.
No comment. And I think I always knew, my oldest sister, who's 12 years older than me, travelled, and she started travelling when she was 18, which was when I was 6. So it's kind of something I grew up with, that people travel, and I think I always knew that I was going to come over here. And I can remember when I did. And I got a job over here. I had a phone interview and I had a job to come to. And I can remember going through my farewells in Australia. And I can remember my farewell from work, and it ended up many drinks were drunk. Many drinks were drunk. And I can remember at the end of the night, sitting with two very, very good friends of mine, and we had a few more drinks, and we actually had a few smokes, because I actually used to do quite a bit of that back then. And it was such a normal thing for us to be spending Friday nights together, having a few drinks and a few smokes, just chatting away, that I actually forgot that the next day I was moving. And we were sitting there and we were talking, and all of a sudden I turned around and I looked over to the other side of the lounge room, and on the floor was my suitcase, and it was packed. And all of a sudden I remembered, and I started crying. In fact, I started sobbing. And my friends didn't really know what was wrong, and Dave just moved over and he put his arm around me and he said, "What's wrong?" And I think it probably took me about 15 minutes before I could actually articulate what was wrong with me. And all I could say was, "I'm just so scared." And I was terrified. I was moving to the other side of the world. I had a job, but I didn't know anyone. And all I could focus on was how scared I was. But I did it anyway. And through many times since then, when I've stretched myself, when I've done something that's taken me outside of my comfort zone, I've gone through a very, very similar process of excitement and then fear, sometimes bordering on terror, because I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know if I was going to succeed or if I was going to fail and have to turn around and go home with my tail between my legs. But on each of those occasions, I went ahead and did it anyway. And it's actually made me realise that for me, that terror is actually it's part of my process. It's part of my transition from here to there, is to actually really get present to how scared I am and then go ahead and do it anyway. And I would actually assert that there's not a person in this room who hasn't decided they wanted to do something or had an opportunity to do something and been scared about it. And I think similarly we've all on occasions not done it. But then on occasions we've done it. And I'm so pleased that for me, on the occasions when it really was a life-changing thing, when it really was a big thing, I felt the fear and I did it anyway.
Stand up here. Has anyone got any questions to ask Jenny?
Sorry?
He's one of the Brexit guys.
I'm sorry.
We're going to make a union with Australia.
He said if he thought about going back home, he was just being sarcastic.
Well, you know, it's actually really funny because for a long, long time, what was there for me was I couldn't go back home because it was going back. And it occurred for me like it was an admission of failure, like it didn't work out over here and I had to go back. And I've actually been here for 20 years now. And it was probably about 3 or 4 years ago, that I really got that going to Australia, moving back to Australia was not going back, and it was not an admission of failure. And in fact, I took out citizenship last year so that I really can make my choices, and I can go back to Australia for 5 years if I want to now, and then I can come back to London if that's what I want.
Thank you.